Hey guys, and welcome to Functional Print Friday, and welcome back to my shop. So today I want to do a little bit of drawer organization or drawer organization. So in this drawer is all of the tool holders for the tool post on my lathe. So if I grab one of these out, I'll show you where this goes. Drops down on here, this locks into place, and you switch these out on a fairly regular basis depending on what type of turning you're trying to do. Now, a lot of people mount these right up onto the backsplash of their lathe. They'll have like a bar that attaches up here and usually have them sitting in an angle like this so you can see what the tool bit is. And the problem with that is, at least in my circumstance here, is this is like sort of a narrow walkway here behind this backsplash and my truck. So I'll usually get out of the truck and then walk through this space here. So I don't want anything sticking out past the back of the backsplash because it's only a matter of time until like a jacket catches it and these things break off and fall down somewhere. It's also quite a bit of weight if you have a lot of these to put them on the back of the backsplash. I mean, this thing is reasonably sturdy, but I'm always surprised when I see people have like 20 of these things lined up. That's a lot of weight to have up there. So I really want to keep mine in the drawer, and that is working well from an accessibility perspective because this is right behind where the lathe is, so I really only have to spin around, put one back and grab the one that I need. And they stay dust free because I do woodworking and stuff here in the shop as well. The problem is what happens when you close this drawer, they all slide back a little bit. And after doing that a couple times, they all end up migrating their way over to these other ones, further and further away from the drawer front. And honestly, it's also tough to pick them up and set them down without knocking into one. I mean, yeah, obviously I can do it, but I have to go fairly slow. I can't be quick, or I risk hitting one of the precision ground faces on these, on one of the other ones, or I risk knocking one of these fairly brittle carbide inserts on either one of the other ones or against these ones on the back. So I'd like a solution in this drawer that allows me to have them all in here, but keeps them from sliding back, and they all have sort of a spot to drop onto. I'm imagining sort of these all lined up nice and pretty with dovetail pieces coming up vertically from the bottom that I can set each one of these down on. There's also, let's see, I think there's 12 here. Yeah, there's actually only 11 here. I'd like to fit one more. The problem is if I put these guys any closer together, it gets to the point where it's even worse than what I was saying about just being super careful setting these back down in here without knocking against another one. But I think if we have places that they all sit, I think we can squeeze another one in here. All right, I'm going to start by taking a bunch of measurements of this drawer. I want to get the width of it, and I want to get not the depth of the full drawer, but at least the depth up to where I want these guys to sort of stop. Because the other thing that happens is as I use these, even though I brush them off before I set them back in the drawer, oftentimes metal chips from whatever I was cutting, whether it be steel, aluminum, brass, whatever, will drop down onto this blue piece down here, and then I have to come in and vacuum it up, or they work their way. They'll also sort of roll their way back and end up underneath these guys. And the last thing you want is chips caught between these precision ground faces in your tool post, because it's going to knock it off. It's not going to sit straight. You could actually potentially damage the tool holder or the tool post as well. So I also wouldn't mind if we had kind of like a little bit of a lip coming off, maybe with a raised section, to keep that stuff there, so I could just kind of regularly come through with the vacuum and suck that stuff up out of there. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking. There's some things we're going to have to work around in here. I notice on the side of the drawer there's these clips that come up. There's one of those on each side. The drawer also has like this lip in the front, so we have to make sure that we're underneath that. The other thing is, there's going to be two more challenges that we're going to face here. Number one is the tops of these bolts are right to the point where some of them almost touch. Like these guys over here, they're within probably 2-3 millimeters of touching. And I also, even if we design something that fits down here for all these to slide into, we still need to keep the whole thing from sliding, right? Because it's not like we're going to eliminate the force. When this drawer shuts, they're all still going to want to slide back when that drawer stops. So we either have to attach it to the drawer somehow, or what I'm thinking is we don't really need this blue mat. And this is thick. This is probably 3 or 4 millimeters thick. It's like it's actually an ESD mat that I cut to fit in here. What if we cut it out so that whatever we design sits directly on the metal bottom of the drawer? Then we have that 3 or 4 millimeter lip for whatever we design to sit up against so that it can't slide back. So, all right, I'm gonna get those measurements and I'm going to draw up the rough dimensions of the drawer and come up with a first draft. All right, here's where I'm at with this so far. So you can see I modeled the general size of the drawer, and I just sort of divided it up into 11 spaces and left a little room on the sides for some clips that I know are in there in the drawer. I was really hoping to get 12, but I'm just not sure how that's going to work out. I modeled one of the tool holders. This is one of the standard ones. Some of them are a little bit wider. I'm just worried that it's going to be too tight to try and fit 12 in here, but I think we'll print this one out and we'll just see what it's going to look like. So this is the tool holder here. This is the actual piece that we're going to print. And yeah, I mean, this is not done. It's not usable as is, but I found when doing projects like this, it really makes sense to get sort of like a V1 like this, and then print it, see what works, see what doesn't work, see how your fit is on your interference surfaces, and just overall see how it's going to fit in the drawer or wherever it's going in as well. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to print this one out, we'll test it, and bring it back. All right, and our first test print is complete. I printed this on the Bambu Labs A1. I've got that up in my office. I really like having that machine in my office for prototyping. The rest of my 3D printers are all the way down in my basement. I put the A1 in my office because it's compact, it's quiet, and it's just so nice for doing prototyping stuff like this without having to go all the way down to the basement to get a print, like especially when I'm like rapidly prototyping like this. So let's see if this fits. Yeah, it fits on there really nice. I don't think I'd want to go any tighter, but I've kind of traded one problem for another because now it's a bit of a pain to get on there. Like you really have to have it lined up perfectly before you set it down, which I guess does solve the problem of knocking into the other ones. I mean, that's not going to be possible, right? Because we have this plastic wall here and it's going to be right up against another one with a plastic wall here. So it solves that, but I don't like how hard it is to line this up. Let's see how it looks in the drawer. What's going on? It's not, oh, I see what it is. Let me grab the camera out of here. So it's a little tough to see, but what's going on is the back of this is hitting against this seam down here. If I can get the camera to focus on that. Yeah, see, I think it's the bottom of the drawer folds up and is probably like welded against the front face of the drawer. So we're gonna have to have a relief on the front of this so that that can go all the way up without rocking back and forth like that. We're below the lip here, that's good. I don't know how I feel about sort of the two-step look here. I might do a bevel on the front of that. From a tool depth perspective, let's see, let's grab this one. Yeah, it's not bad. Wouldn't mind being a little bit longer. Just thinking setting one of these guys down, if the chips drop off of there, they are liable to still make their way over. So maybe make this a little bit longer, this section. All right, I've been messing around with it a bit off camera. I think the sum total of changes I want to make to a version 2 are, I want to figure out a way to taper the top of this so that it makes setting one of these down on it a lot easier, like that it kind of just self-aligns. Yeah, see, like even there it kind of bound up as I was trying to set it down. I want to come out a little bit longer with this. I think I might try shortening the width. I have to, some of these are a different size. Some of these blocks are a little bit wider. I might want to hold off on that one yet. The other thing that we need to figure out is I'm either going to print these individually and then they're going to lock together, or we can print them in kind of units and then lock the units together. Because remember, I want to get 11 or 12 of these across the front of the drawer. So I was originally thinking of interlocking them at the top, like there'd be a full depth, like dovetail or something here, but then we're going to see it from the top. Now that I'm holding this in my hand, I don't see any reason why we couldn't actually put the dovetail in the back and join them like across the back. So there'd be like a dovetail cut out here on the back, like a bow tie piece that fits in, and it would lock them together. And then once it's in the drawer, we wouldn't even see that because it'd be up against the drawer front. So let me go back to SketchUp and come up with a second revision. All right, and through the magic of editing, here is our V2 piece all set to go. Yeah, that is it's a lot better. I'm intentionally coming in at the wrong angle and not quite right alignment, and it's self-aligning on there really nice. Also put that notch in the back. Let's go see how this looks in the drawer. Okay, well already that looks way better. I love the look of that bevel kind of dropping off from the drawer front. Let's see how this fits. Yeah, that's nice, but I'm realizing I solved one problem and created another, because when these guys are close together, it's natural to come in with from either side here to pick this up by this piece here that sets the height on the tool post. But, actually let me bring it up here so you can see better. Our raise section there, where we taper down to the full dovetail, basically sits right at that height setting nut, so you can't get underneath there with your finger anymore to grab it, and it's going to be awkward. Yeah, you can't really do it that way because the set screws for the tool are in the way there. You really need to come from the sides, and now I can't get my finger there. And I bet you actually some of them don't even go on here, because that height setting knob is going to be different for every single one of these tools. Here, let me check and I'll show you what I mean. Yeah, here's a perfect example. This one doesn't even fit. The nut is actually sitting against our tapered spot up here at the top. So we solved one problem, created another one, and as it turns out, the notch I made on the back for the drawer front is actually not quite high enough. I didn't measure it. I should have, I guessed, and I'm still a couple millimeters off. So we'll raise that up by 5 millimeters. And I tested removing the integrated support material that I put in here. So these are those dovetails I was talking about, and you can see actually this side's still intact. So I wasn't sure how that was going to print, and I didn't know what it was going to do from a supports perspective. So I just left 1 millimeter in there in the design. It's amazing how good the side looks for that only being 1 millimeter thick. But I tried removing it on this side, worked pretty well. Actually, we should try and make sure the bow tie fits in there. Let's see how that fits. Okay, so here's our bow tie piece. And that actually seems to fit pretty well. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to fit with another piece in here, because I have 0 distance in between the wedges on both sides. So we're probably not going to know until we do a V3 revision on this and actually have 2 to try and attach to each other. So, all right, I'm going to go scratch my head and see what I can figure out for a revision on this sloping part here to bring it down. Because the obvious answer is to probably just bring it down below the height of this wall. Let me scratch my head, see what I can figure out for that. All right, I am back with our latest revision, and it sure looks good. And I knocked out one of the dovetails on the back here to try the bow tie in here, raise this up so we're not going to be touching that seam on the front of the door. So let's see how this works. I not only dropped it down, but I also adjusted the shape on the top to hopefully make it even easier for that tool holder to drop down on there. So let's see how it works. Oh yeah. Yeah, as long as you're even just close, just the lines right on there. Okay. I also shortened the width of this. At this width, I can fit 12 of these in the drawer. But like I said, some of them are wider. This is the widest one. This is a cutoff tool on this one. So even though this one is a different width, we can still put it right up against this one and see how we are from a size perspective. So that's just fine. We have plenty of gap there to align and drop this guy in. See how this one is. Yeah, so that's definitely tighter, but I think there's still enough room there. Actually, why are we doing it like this? Let's see if that bow tie fits in here. Oh, it's tight. Oh, actually that fits really nice. You can see the difference in the height of that step back here too. Not even really pull. I was worried it was going to pull away on this end. I figured we'll be able to squish them all together in the drawer once we have all of them done anyway. But I was kind of expecting this to pull apart a little bit at the end because we're only joining back here. But it actually looks pretty good. Let's see again. Ooh, yeah. So this one's hard to get in and out because now my finger is hitting this piece here when I try and get it out. I don't have that problem when this one's not here, and I don't think I'll have that problem once this is right next to another bay, I guess we'll call it, that does not have a raised one. But that's fine, and this is the widest of these that I have. I don't know, they probably do make some wider tool holders. These are CXA size tool holders, but all of the ones that I have, all of the ones that are going to go in the front of the drawer anyway, are no wider than this, and most of them are this wide. Yeah, that looks good. All right, I think back to the drawing board once more to figure out now how I actually fill the drawer with these, whether it makes sense to just do individual ones and key them all together with these bow ties, or if we do them in sections. I think I can fit at least 4 of these on the bed at the same time, which means I may as well just have 4 of them all attached to each other. Let me get some measurements and figure that out and do some more design work, and I will bring you guys back. All right, just wanted to give you a quick peek at my final design space here. The way I tend to design is I'll have all the different versions of what I was working on in one design space. So here was the initial test piece. Here was the one that we did the top on that was just too high. That did not work out. That's where my thumb and index finger were not fitting against. This is one you guys didn't even see. I never printed this one. I adjusted the design by bringing the side lower and then also bringing the top down a little bit. And before I even printed it, I just realized that I didn't really think I'd like that. I really wanted this, the side piece to still be the same height as the tool. So this was the next actual one that I printed and showed you guys. This also has the larger relief in the back. And this one, we have the tapered top to set that piece down on, but we still have it flush with the top and this full height rail that matches the exact same height as the tool holder. You can see the bow tie up here that I designed that fits in either one of these when you knock out that built-in support. And if we go over here, you can see this is ultimately what I am going to print out next is a unit of 4 of these together, because in sizing this down to fit a total of 12, if I make 3 of these, I basically have everything I need. We'll still have a little space on the sides, but we'll figure that out when we get there because it's tough to measure that gap. It's going to be a lot easier to actually put the 3 of these in there and then use some feeler gauges on one side and then just, figure out what we need from a spacer with that. So, all right, I'm going to print 3 of these out and I'll bring you guys back. Alright guys, today is tomorrow, and this ended up being a fun little print comparison because I queued one of these up and it was telling me it was going to take 8 hours to print, and honestly there's not 8 hours between when I was at that step and when I need to be publishing this video, so I couldn't print these all on the same printer. So what did I do? I printed them on 3 different printers, and there's definitely differences between them. If I look at this one, let's see. Yeah, this one came off of the A1. I know it came off of the A1 because when I pulled it off the bed, I noticed there's like a little bit of deformity here. It's actually, I can feel like a little bit of a valley there. I can see the extrusion just doesn't look consistent. I don't know if maybe there was something underneath the bed when I put it on or what. Yeah, you can even see like kind of a little bit of a wave there in the side. And I can feel that with my thumb. The rest of it looks great though. And it looks really good from this side. Like really, really consistent extrusion. And I've not done anything to tune this machine. This machine calculates its own pressure advance based on a sensor in the nozzle, and it looks really good. Also, interestingly enough, this one took the shortest amount of time by like 30 minutes. This one I think was about 7 hours and 50 minutes or something. And then these were like 8.5 hours each. One of these is the P1S and one of these is the X1C. And it's this one that's the X1C. The X1C actually has the poorest extrusion. I have not tuned this printer in Orca Slicer, to be fair, but it has LiDAR and it does its own tuning at the beginning of the print. And it's not bad, but I can see that we just don't have really good extrusion because you can see kind of these waves across the front here, like 1, 2, 3, 4. And it's a little rough in places. It doesn't look bad. I mean, don't get me wrong. This is a good print. I'm not complaining about it. The bottom is perfectly smooth, perfectly well extruded everywhere. There's maybe some spots there where it's not 100% perfect, but it looks very good. And this one is from the P1S, and it also looks really good. Like honestly, the best two here are from the A1 and the P1S. And the P1S, to be fair, I did tune pressure advance with this one in Orca Slicer. So this one has had manual tuning, so it's not really a fair comparison. I'm betting if we just printed this one and this one at the same time, both with no additional calibration, they'd probably look more similar. But yeah, I mean, just what we have here in front of us, I would say the A1 and the P1S actually gave us the nicest prints. But let's see how they fit. Okay, so let's see, 1 tool holder, 2 tool holders. Let me grab 2 more. Okay, so that's looking really good. I think we're fine this close together. And this is 12 now. I was able to fit 12 of these in across 3 units. So yeah, as long as these don't end up being too close together in practical use, I think I'll be able to fit 12 across the front of the drawer. Let's see what it looks like in the drawer. Okay, something's not right here. This middle one is not sitting back flush against the back in comparison to the sides. The sides are fitting really nicely. The front one is not. Let's see what's going on. There is self-tapping screws back here for probably these extruded handles. Yeah, let me grab the camera off here. I'll show you what I mean. Yeah, so on the front here, I see why these, I miss these because you don't really see them. Even with the drawer all the way open and you're kind of leaning over the drawer, they're obscured by the, like this top piece that's bent over on the top of the drawer. But they have like the typical self-tapping screw, like sheet metal screw with a big head on it. So that sucks. I don't actually have time to reprint this. So what I'm thinking we'll do is we'll mark the location and maybe just we just use like a Forstner bit or an end mill to mill out a spot where they need to be. All right, this is not going to work like I thought. I was thinking that we could clamp this in the vise here in this orientation and mill from the top. The problem is we've got this long, thin section that's not going to give us enough rigidity to do that. And I can't think of a good way to come up above that and still tightly clamp against this. I'm sure there's a way it could be done, but it's not worth the effort. I think the easiest thing to do is just set this on a wood block in the drill press and just freehand them. All right, that went just about as badly as I could have. I guess I really should have known better than to even try that. Maybe a Forstner bit. All right, that is by no means pretty. This one actually didn't come out too bad. I think that one will clean up nicely. This one is a mess because we grabbed it with that end mill and just really made a mess of it. But again, we're not going to see this. It's going to be hidden underneath the that lip on the front of the drawer and then covered by the front of the drawer face. So let me see how much I can clean those up and I'll bring it back. All right, I'm embarrassed to even show this to you guys. Yeah, so you'll notice these are now slots instead of holes because when I went to put it back in the drawer, I realized that we actually did need all the way out the top. It didn't quite clear even with the blue mat in there, but I realized with the blue mat out, these are going to sit down lower in the drawer, and we were definitely going to need a bigger clearance area there. So I know I'm never going to see it once this goes in the drawer, but that's going to drive me nuts. I will definitely end up designing these cutouts into the part and printing another one of these after I post the video. But let's see how it looks. Yeah, it fits really nice now. And we should have room to put 12 of these in here. So let's do a dry fit. Okay, and that is 11 of them in here, and we have room for a 12th. I just don't actually have a 12th to try in there right now. And this looks really good. I think there is, yeah, there is plenty of room to come in and bang these in now quickly. Just kind of line them up, drop them in place. And I don't have to worry about hitting the one adjacent to it because we have that plastic buffer there. And we have our, sort of sloped face down here that lines them up and drops them down into place. And visually, I love the look of it. Now, we still have a couple things to solve. It's still going to slide. Here, if I close the drawer. Actually, oh, we're hitting too. Yeah, some of them are hitting against that top drawer because now we are, the thickness of the bottom of this is 3 millimeters, and I think the thickness of that blue stuff is about 3 millimeters too. So now we're just altogether too high. I slammed that, so it went through. But the other problem is it doesn't run quite the full width of the drawer. We have a little space on each side. Here, let me show you. See, we have a space over here, and we have a little bit of space over here. And I do want to make sure these guys are tight together. Actually, you know what? We should just go ahead and put the bow ties in here. See how these actually fit up against each other. All right, it looks pretty good. Let's try it in the drawer. Yeah, that looks good. And I think that's going to push together there, that little gap. This one fits really nicely. This one's pulling apart just a little bit, or I should say pushing apart. But I think, again, once we have it spaced out on the sides, I think we'll be in good shape. So for the side spacers, what I am thinking is I can knock these out as well and just do a real thin piece that splits the difference. I'll measure the, I'll slide this all the way over to one side, measure the gap, divide that by 2, and then just print out 2 small spacers for each side. And I think I'm going to try and integrate the wedge, like half of the bow tie, right into it so that it can push right into place and stay lined up. Let me go try whipping those up, and I'll bring you back. All right, off camera, I knocked out the little bit of support material in the end of each one of these, and I have designed our spacer pieces here. And these were a bear to print. I ended up having, because I wanted to print them standing up. They would have been really easy to print laying down like this. But then we'd have a layer line here where this wedge is, and I think it would just snap right off. So I did print these standing up like this, but I had to do a pretty wide brim to keep it sticking to the bed, and I had to do full supports underneath the wedge just to help stabilize this tall piece here. So let's see if they fit. Okay, both those are in place. They slid right in with no issue. Let's try it. All right, so I realized as soon as we got here that I made an oversight because these clips here on the side, I was thinking, oh, no problem, this the spacer is going to be underneath that, and it will be on both sides. The spacer will be underneath that clip. The problem is we still actually have to drop this into place. It's not like we can get it further up on the drawer and slide it back because then we have this solid back here. So yeah, I'm not quite sure how we're going to do this. Maybe there's enough flexibility in these little side pieces to sort of sneak under it. All right, the solution to this ended up being pretty easy. I realized that what I could do is I could actually just put the spacers in the drawer first because it locks in, the other piece locks in by pushing into this. So we should be able to put these in the drawer on both sides, like I've got them here, and then just slide the rest of our unit back in, and it should just lock in place with these wedges. So I'll give that a try. All right, it was a little bit finicky to get everything lined up, but yeah, that's pretty good. We do still have a very small gap here. I suppose I could make these spacers just a little bit wider, just to force that closed, but I'm pretty happy with that. I think all that's left to do is to cut this blue mat here, and you're probably wondering why I didn't do that before I put this in, but I figured the easiest way to know where to cut it is going to be to get this exactly where it's going to sit, and then just mark it in place, pull it out, cut it, put it back in, put this guy back in, and we should be golden. So let me mark that, we'll cut it, and see how it looks. All right, guys, that looks really good. I am super happy with the aesthetic of that, and I think this is plenty high enough to keep this from sliding back. These are sitting all the way down on the bottom of the metal drawer now, so this should keep this from sliding back. I'm not worried about this like sort of folding up into a little bit of hump under pressure, because we're always going to have those other heavy tools sitting right behind this section on here. So let me get everything into the drawer and see how it works. All right, that looks really good. Let's try slamming the drawer on purpose. Oh, you know what? Let's make sure these clear first. We should have plenty of room now, but I just want to double check. Yeah, we got, I'd say, probably about 2 millimeters. So let's give this a slam and see how it works. All right, I'm pushing that pretty hard, and yeah, I just want to make sure, what I was worried about is this lifting, but with all these guys in here, it can't. If these weren't in here, that might start to like curl up, or maybe not, I don't know. But either way, with those in place, it's definitely keeping these from shifting any further forward than our blue mat. So I'm really happy with that. Yeah, the other thing I was worried about packing this full of 12 was if I'd have room to quickly grab, because usability of this is really important to me. When I'm working on the lathe, I don't want to have to slow down to be, super careful about how I'm grabbing stuff. Your hands are often greasy and dirty. I want to come here and be able to loop like the side of my index finger and my thumb in here to quickly grab one of these securely, because these guys are heavy. That's a solid hunk of steel, and I can do that even with them this close together very quickly. All right, guys, as always, thanks for hanging out in the shop with me for this week's print. I am super happy with how this came out, not only just from a usability perspective, but aesthetically. I just think it looks really nice seeing, 11 of these, and soon to be 12 lined up just perfectly in this drawer all the time. So let me know down in the comments, would you guys have done anything differently? Would your OCD also require you to reprint this middle section, even though you're never going to see that? Because I know mine will. And if you enjoyed this video, take a second, hit that like button. And if you really like the video, check out some of my other videos. And if you do and you like them, hit that subscribe button. And guys, if you do, I'll see you next Friday.